The wind cut through the silence like judgment. A pair of old eyes squinted against the sun-drenched debris of a charred village. It once stood proud homes of laughter and children, now reduced to ash. Memories floated in the dry air, flickering like specters tangled in smoke. Behind shadowed walls, betrayed lives whispered their secrets. High above, the sun hung low, casting long shadows on hard earth. A voice carried against the ruins. Nobody remembers the dead, like the ones who set fire to their homes. Through the remnants of a world gone wrong, the camera closed in on the humble chapel of St. Margaret, its stone crumbling but resolute. Inside, a flickering candle fought against the darkness, illuminating Sister Adelina as she knelt at an altar of bleak hope. "Forgive me, Lord, for I have been tested," she murmured, hands pressed tightly into cool stone, the smell of dampness stinging her senses. The distant sound of labored breathing pulled her attention. Sir Thierry, the knight who carried both honor and a stained soul, lay in the pews, armor rusted and heavy with the weight of past sins. "Did you come to grant absolution, sister?" he rasped, eyes clouded and distant. "Only the Lord can do that, knight." But in the weight of the moment, Adelina's heart echoed with an ancient longing. "Lord, I do not know if I can bear the truth." Silence draped like a heavy coat, suffocating yet sacred. Could the dead forgive me if the living would not? Thierry's words cracked in the air, shattering the stillness. As the two remained suspended in shared pain, the unspoken truths lingered like dust in sunlight, separating them yet binding them together. The world outside stretched forward like unturned leaves, a path dimly lit by fading light. The wind howled gently, swirling up dust motes, catching fleeting glimpses of memories. Slow but certain, the chapel descended into shadows, as if the weight of guilt drew in the very light. Shadows may retreat, but the truth does not. Beyond the worn sanctuary, fragmented visions raced through Thierry's mind like a burning wildfire. Flashes of laughter in a vibrant village, the sun above danced on gleaming smiles. But then, darkness fell. Flames consumed hope, screams mingled with the crackling of wood. "Adelina," Thierry's voice surged back to the present. "They told us it was necessary, that we had to cleanse the rebellion, but I saw them, all of them." The air fell heavy with her heartbeat, pulse syncopated to his confession. "Which village, knight?" she dared to ask, a fierce tremor in her voice. "Beneath the dawn, children. Children I will never forget. A boy with a knife. He only wanted to defend what was left." "Defend?" Adelina felt the breath leave her. "You think of that now?" His eyes locked onto hers, a plea for understanding behind the storm of guilt. "What burns longer?" he murmured, nearly a whisper. "The houses we set aflame, or the faces of those we failed to save?" Adelina clenched her fists tighter. "You think your confession grants freedom? It's an anchor. Weight of truth will sink you. I fear it already has." Tension rattled in the air, thick with the ghosts of shared anguish. Time hung suspended, like a single drop of rain on the cusp of deciding whether to land or live forever in the air. "I will tell you, but the words are heavy," Thierry continued, desperation lining his features. "Go on." "They told us the village was harboring insurgents." "Our orders." The sunlight flickered, a reminder of warmth long forgotten, flickering like the candle's flame. "Orders do not absolve the hand that strikes," Adelina whispered. The candle burnt low, shadows reaching out as light dimmed. "Your silence is both a gift and a curse." Thierry spoke softly, his weariness seeping through. Adelina turned, pacing the chapel's narrow aisle, grappling with the weight of his confession, as though the crucifix on the wall observed their turmoil. We were men of the sword, bound to duty, sworn to the king. The king could not shield you from the truth. The ground beneath her trembled with each word, as if it too mourned. Tears threatened to spill, but she swallowed them down, wrestling with the burden of what it meant to forgive or to remain silent. Where do we go from here? To face what remains, he replied, the fire in his spirit shifting into embers. Outside, the darkened clouds began to gather, heavy with the inevitability of storms. The sun set lower, shadows absorbing the landscape. Then night fell swiftly, whispers of thunder, accompanied by a restless wind. In the darkened room of the chapel, shadows flitted across stone walls, memories drawing around her like cloaks. Adelina's heart beat a heavy truth, caught between compassion and justice. She thought of the children lost, the lives extinguished in flames. A raven perched on the edge of the chapel, cautious and expectant. It cowed a sound against the night that shattered her stillness. "Forgive me," she murmured once more, both to God and to herself, but her resolve floundered. Beyond the chapel's threshold lay uncertainty, a path twisted with guilt and obligation. She stole into the abbess's office, her mind clashing against the weight of her heart. "What haunts you, child?" the abbess inquired, wise eyes studying her. "What is truth?" Adelina spoke with urgency, voice laden with soul-searing conflict. "Is it a burden we must not share if it comes at a cost?" The abbess held her gaze, waiting, reading the storm tugging at the edges of Adelina's spirit. "The truth is, the land cries out, and we cannot silence those echoes without facing their anguish." A quiver raced through Adelina's body. "And if I expose him, the truth shall set you free. But know this, what is laid bare can never be unspoken." The night deepened around her, thoughts swirling, a tempest of choice and consequence. The shadows thickened, wrapping her tightly against the loneliness of the hour. With the rising sun, the world outside twisted into something unrecognizable. Humanity sprawled upon the edges of reckoning. A division bore through the heart of the land. A girl turned into a woman under the weight of a truth she would need to bear alone. Adelina mounted her horse under the fiery cloak of dawn, determination etched across her brow. Where do I go now? The road ahead stretched into oblivion, but she was resolute. The wind whistled through the arched trees, as though their spirits guided her call to redemption or retribution. As she rode north, the terrain twisted with memoria journey, unbound from the past but tethered in its pull. Day morphed into night. The landscape changed like a restless lover, fierce and unforgiving. Adelina's resolve burned brighter than the midday sun, chasing away shadows that threatened her heart. She carried with her the whispers of those lost, their stories struggling to escape. Finally, she reached the remnants of the village, smoldering and unrecognizable, a place where all laughter had fled from the earth. The weight of its silence echoed loudly in her heart, a siren call of ghosts demanding reckoning. Like a phantasm, she stood before the ashes of what once was. A child's laughter clung to the Ira, haunting reminder of innocence stolen. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm, golden light that felt almost mocking against the devastation. Wrapped in the cloaks of shadows, Adelina whispered, "I will not let their story die." As night fell, she found shelter in a nearby orphanage, a dim room filled with lost stories, walls that spoke of resilience through decay. The children gathered, eyes wide with uncertainty. "Tell me your stories," she said softly, no longer bound by oaths, "for they matter. Where are our mothers?" A child's voice quivered, searchlight piercing through darkness. Adelina knelt, feeling their pain like thorns. "I will share your truth," she vowed, pain blossoming within her. "We will not be silent." With that declaration hung in the air, she listened eagerly to each tale that poured forth, each one swirling with echoes of sorrow and healing, unresolved but alive. As she held their hands, she realized she had found a new purpose. The stories transformed her, threading through the fabric of her soul. No longer was she tied to betrayal. Here she wove connections that breathed life into fractured hopes. And if anyone dared ask her who she was now, she held the fragility of truth close without fear. "I chose the path of truth, breaking free from the chains that bound me," she would say, heart aflame, willing to confront the past while forging a future. The dawn revealed a new Erebos, brutal and beautiful promise, weaving through the pain. Her presence warmed the hearts of the forgotten, while casting shadows on the sins that haunted her. But deep in the recesses of her soul, the echoes remained, the haunting, a reminder that truth exacts a cost. And as the screen faded to black, one final thought lingered. In a place bearing no laws, what would justice look like? As the last whisper of dusk enveloped the orphanage, a sprawling narrative unraveled, alive amidst blame and absolution, courage and fear. The camera closed in on a child's frightened face, revealing innocence against a tapestry of scars endured. If this story left dust in your throat, join us on this journey of untold legends and subscribe to Medieval Stories. The first frost hit the Brost orphanage as winter's breath swept the land, turning the air crisp and sharp. Adelina embraced the changes around her, the children settling into their routines while she formulated her own. Each day felt heavy with purpose, a journey centered on being a vessel of forgotten tales, learning to mold her pain into warmth for those who surrounded her. Through the frigid days and cold nights, her bond with the children deepened. Laughter echoed in the warmed rooms as stories unfolded like intricate tapestries, each thread woven from sorrow, resilience, and hope. The kids shared their dreams, their fears and memories, filling the void left by lost families. Adelina became their protectora guardian, whispered of in the darkest corners of the night, but pause lingered in her heart, a quiet ache she could not escape. Sir Thierry's confession haunted her thoughts, twisting in the back of her mind like smoke curling from smoldering ash. Each time she closed her eyes, she glimpsed the burning village, the faces of the lost, the shouts of despair mingling with the crackling flame. One evening, as the sun dipped low and cast a golden hue upon the walls, a small boy approached her, timidly clutching a frayed doll. "Miss Adelina, can you tell me a story?" His voice trembled, but his gaze held an earnestness that sparked her heart. "Of course, my dear," she smiled, gesturing for him to sit close. The other children gathered around, eager faces illuminated by the flickering light of the candles. A sense of community washed over them, a warmth stark against the chill of their pasts. "What kind of story do you want to hear?" she asked, knowing all too well the myriad of tales swirling in her heart. "Tell us about courage," he replied, eyes wide with innocence. Adelina let her thoughts wander back, choosing her words carefully, wrapping them in the richness of her own experiences. "The greatest courage," she began, "is often seen in the smallest of actions. With each word, She painted a vivid picture of valor. She spoke of the warrior not for his battle strength, but for the mercy he meted out to those he conquered. She spoke of choices, of standing up for what is right, even when it means facing the fears of the past. The children listened with rapt attention, their breaths held tight against the pain of their own stories, entranced by the beauty and tenderness and resilience. As she concluded, the room filled with warmth, a shared breath of understanding. "Real courage," she whispered, "is found in the truth we carry within us and in all of our choices." Silence enveloped them, a soft cocoon sheltering their fragmented hearts. But rest was elusive. Shadows still haunted her during sleepless nights. The audacity of guilt burned brightly as it melded with the warmth she now fostered for the children. Under the watchful eyes of the moon, she wrestled with memories. The rhythm of her heart echoed in her ears. The lives that were lost, those unburdened by the flames, are they forever etched on my soul? Outside, the howls of winter winds pierced through walls, a constant reminder that freedom came at a price. Days turned into nights, and her resolve waned as the weight of silence pressed down on her spirit. She felt an instinctive need to confront the ghosts of her past. A vigilant truth cried out for justice, a search for redemption wheedling away her once buried anguish. Driven by something deeply rooted, she grabbed her cloak and strode out into the darkening world. The chill nipped at her skin, and the sky, a tapestry of stars, seemed almost to whisper secrets she couldn't grasp. With every step, determination surged like fire in her veins, the longing for closure rare, reckoning over the quiet memories that plagued her. The path wound through unyielding earth, accompanied by haunting echoes of the forgotten. Each movement brought her closer to the remnants of that village, now only a memory buried under frost and winter's grip. As she approached, a spectral beauty enveloped her. The moon cast a pallid light over the land, illuminating the ashes of lives once vibrant. She stepped into the dusk, the hair on her arm standing upright against the cold chill that swept through her bones. The village lay still, a haunting image of despair lingering, the foundations of homes now mere outlines against the star-flecked sky. "Why can't I forget?" she cried out, her voice mingling with the howling wind. Silence greeted her anguish, and the stillness wrapped around her like a blanket. Adelina's heart raced, her breath hitching in her throat as she stepped cautiously farther into the vestiges of loss. "Was this the weight you bore?" she whispered to the dark, her eyes tracing the edges of forgotten lives. She could feel them, the spirits of those who once thrived here, flitting in and out of existence. Adelina knelt, touching the remnants of charred wood, feeling a connection rippling through her essence. The warmth of their lost laughter echoed in her mind. Amidst the shadows, she sensed a figura silhouette standing silent at the village's edge. With trepidation, she turned toward it, peering through the darkness, holding her breath. It was an old woman, leaning on a gnarled cane, eyes glistening with wisdom, shrouded in sorrow. "Who are you?" Adelina asked, her voice a tremor as she barely held herself together. "I'm a witness," the woman replied, voice low like the whisper of the wind, a keeper of their stories. "And you carry them still." Adelina's heart thundered as she felt the weight of recognition. "You know what happened here. Be mindful, child. The past will forever shadow those who seek solace from it." "What must I do?" The urgency burned in her chest, driving her forward. Face it, name your truths, for they are not yours alone to bear. Every name, every life it exists in this soil. Adelina's breaths quickened as she faced the pain flooding through her spirit, a reckoning screaming to unfold within her heart. Then I will not remain silent, she vowed. A bold promise, my dear. In the moonlight, she felt the embers of resolution grow within, the truth igniting like kindling against the frost. Returning to the orphanage felt less like an escape and more like a return to purpose. The warmth inside now felt exaggerated, the children waiting with glimmering eyes. Shaped by stories and truth, she embraced the cries of the lost souls, allowing their stories to intertwine with her own. With each breath, she could feel the fading weight of guilt dissipate, replaced by the warmth of nurturing hope. Adelina gathered the children, eager to share the tales of courage she now understood as a journey intertwined with truth. As twilight descended, the flickering candles cast dancing shadows on the walls. Tonight, she began, we share not only stories but truth. Their wide eyes bore witness, hope blooming as they nestled closer. Courage comes not just from strength but from choice, from embracing the burden of our past in hopes of lighting the path ahead. Silence reigned once more as shadows flickered, but within the darkness, she could see the glimmers of their spirit, raising hope. We all deserve our stories to be told, she added, warmth threading through her heart. The children nodded, captivated and open. Each story shared was another weight lifted, barriers dissolved, grief transformed into strength, belonging forged within shared histories. Adelina spoke late into the night, illuminating the shadows that had persisted for too long. But as the candle flickered low, she knew this was only the beginning. Each story intermingled, lives clashing and intertwining like threads of fabric waiting to be stitched into a greater tapestry. As she lay down that night, buried in warmth and tales yet to be told, one question echoed through her mind. What would justice look like? A new dawn awaited, unfolding with secrets yet to rise, the promise of courage shaping its silhouette against the breaking light. And as the walls held the remnants of their laughter, Adelina knew her choice was clear. She would hold the stories unwavering, forge a connection, and speak truth into the world, rescuing them from silence. If this story captured your heart, join us for more mesmerizing tales by subscribing to Medieval Stories. The morning broke with an amber glow, casting a warm light over the orphanage, painting the world with possibilities. The echo of laughter rang through the halls, sweet and innocent, a stark contrast to the shadows that whispered from Adelina's past. With each dawn, she became more resolute in her quest to share the truth. The children's laughter fed her soul, filling the void left by remorse. Their stories echoed against her heart pain transformed into purpose. Weeks passed, and the children blossomed under her nurturing hands, their imaginations running wild as they explored the stories of heroes and the gentle lessons buried within the ashes of their own lives. They shaped worlds through the lens of their pain and dreams. As the seasons turned, the weight of unspoken histories began to forge connections, a tapestry woven from their shared experiences. Each child brought forth a piece of their soul, a fragment of themselves that would bind them closer together. But within the glow of hope, darkness still lingered, an unseen specter tied to her heart. Certieri's confession remained an anchor she could not release. Adelina understood now that healing wouldn't come from silencing the past, but from embracing it. One evening, as the sky bled hues of crimson and gold, she gathered the children in the yard beneath an ancient oak tree, its branches sprawling outward like arms embracing the sky. "Today, we share the depths of our hearts," she declared, looking into their eager eyes. "Together, we shall create a new story." The children huddled close, excited murmurs swelling within the gathering dusk. Adelina felt warmth blossom in her chest. Every tale mattered. One child spoke first, a girl with eyes as bright as summer. "I want to tell the story of the night the stars fell." The others beckoned her on, anticipation igniting a spark within the circle. "The stars," the girl began, "were angry at the world below. They hid their faces, but the moon shone brightly. The moon said, 'I will catch you, little ones.' And so all the stars fell, but the moon swayed them gently into the sea where they danced forever." Applause erupted, laughter and joy echoing into the twilight, weaving through the branches of the oak. Another boy, darker haired and shadowed, stepped forward. "Can I share? Please," Adelina urged. He took a deep breath, his voice quaking. "Once, a brave knight had to cross a river of shadows to save his sister, and as he ventured forth, the shadows whispered all the terrible things he had done, things that made his heart heavy. But still he shouted, 'I am more than my shadows.' And with that, he crossed the river, finding her waiting with open arms. The circle cheered, excitement coursing through their veins. Adelina felt the flame of creativity spark within each child, a light that chased the shadows from their hearts. As they shared, she watched hopes take flight, demons transformed into lessons, crushing fears into ashes. Their stories painted a vivid portrait of life, where pain and healing coexisted in artistry that transcended suffering. But as their hopeful voices swelled in the air, a wave of unease swept through her. How would justice recognize these fragile lives bound by the shackles of loss? Night fell deeper, heavy with unanswered questions. As the children returned to their beds, their laughter lingered in the Ira melody she wanted to protect, like sacred vows. Alone once again, Adelina stood beneath the oak, reflecting on the rising embers of courage. Would her stories join with theirs, melding hopes and despair into a unified fight for truth? Resolute, she returned to the chapel, her heart racing, longing for answers. Centered amidst prayers, the flickering candles cast long shadows, illuminating her convictions and drawing her closer to the message waiting to break free. "Lord," she whispered, "guide me through this journey." For weeks after, she poured herself into the stories of the village, seeking the names of those lost records hidden beneath ash and rubbly a tapestry of lives she could not forget. Through whispered reveries, they danced before her, revealing their essence one by one, seeking a voice that mirrored their truth. Adelina spent sleepless nights unraveling histories, piecing together the tapestry that silenced the cries of devoted souls. Their legacies were buried deep, rich with hope, pain, and the humanity buried under betrayal. Driven by a reverence for their names, she painstakingly collected them, etching them courageously on parchment, each stroke a promise, a testament refusing to be forgotten. One early morning, after a long, contemplative night spent in solitude, the sun crested over the horizon, afire with purpose. Adelina rode with determination to the castle where Sir Thierry now laid a fortress that had once stirred dread deep within her. She approached the gates, her heart racing against the pulse of the past. Adrenaline coursed through her as she recalled the tales of the villagers, their names whispering against her skin the cost of freedom. Moments turned to an eternity as she approached the door. The heavy wood loomed before her, a barrier to confront. With a deep breath, she pushed it open. Inside, silence hung heavy. The castle felt like a tomb, memories etched in every corner, an echo of lives washed away by the fire of men. Sir Thierry lay in his chamber, surrounded by the scent of healing herbs and the sounds of diligence. Adelina paused, breath caught in her throat. His face was weary, scarred, and yet there was something indefinable beneath the exhaustions, the remnants of a once proud knight. "Adelina," he muttered, recognition fleeting across his features. "You came." "I did," she managed, voice steady, but colored with the weight of truths unspoken. "I need you to understand what your actions wrought." He shifted, shadows passing across his face. I still see them. The fires, the children." "You chose that path," she pressed, fury and sorrow intertwining in her veins. "By orders, we were scared." "Scared?" she echoed, the word harsh and raw, like an open wound. "I stand here among the spirits of those lost. Fear drowns hope, but the truth still breathes." "No," he breathed, shaking his head as if he could dispel the truth with denial. "The weight is yours," she continued, resolve hardening in her chest. "You must face what you've done. The villagers deserve their names spoken, their stories told." Tears shimmered in his eyes. "And what can be done? They are ashes. Legacies remain in the echoes, the warmth they left behind." The silence enveloped them, cueing the specter of their sins. "I will write their names," she stated fiercely, her heart thundering against the resonance of the truth. "Their stories will not die with you." The weight hung in the air, thick with the remnants of pain. "You dare," he whispered through choked emotions, the words scraping against his throat. "I dare for them." For a moment, time refracted around Amar, a fragile breath stretching into eternity. Glimmers of understanding flickered in his gaze. "What will it cost?" "To heal?" she replied, searching deep within his eyes. "Everything." There it was a choice, a connection forged from suffering. And as understanding settled, they stood among the remnants of shadows and the flickering hopes that danced around Thema fragile tether, connecting them to stories whispered in the night. The thought lingered in the air. What once was lost could be resurrected through truth. What remained could breathe. As darkness enveloped the castle that evening, hope washed over her heart, a promise that echoes would intertwine, forming roots capable of binding the future. If this journey resonates with you, join us in seeking more tales that revive the past by subscribing to Medieval Stories. As days turned into weeks, the air within the castle shifted. The weight of responsibility settled on both Adelina and Thierry, morphing into a crucible forged in Firea's shared purpose, bleeding outward into the world. Each evening they gathered, threading together the stories of the lost, and with every spoken name, the chill that had gripped their hearts began to thaw. Adelina had cultivated an atmosphere of healing, a sanctuary built from the hushed echoes of the village, the names now alive in the spaces they occupied. Sir Thierry was a mirror to her resolve. Each confession discovered a piece of his honor, each retelling a step toward redemption, but it could never erase the past. Through the long, cold nights, they met beneath a canopy of stars. The soft flicker of candlelight danced across the stone walls, illuminating the parchment where names had been etched with reverence. "I can hardly bear the weight," Thierry confessed one night, his voice a quiver as he leaned over the names, tracing them like fragile memories with gnarled fingers. "How could I have been so blind?" "There was fear." "Yes," Adelina replied, her tone gentle but resolute. "But there is also courage in acknowledging it. The places we go from here are shaped by our willingness to confront the truth." He nodded slowly, the tension in his shoulders easing as they continued to breathe life into the stories of the lost. Adelina envisioned the village rising again as they filled the parchment with names each name, a flicker of light against the encroaching darkness that had once snuffed out their laughter. She could feel the power in their narratives. The rippling effect of remembrance echoed beyond the realm of pain, weaving threads of hope through the wounds of the past. Each evening brought forth a new story, a new face. They filled the gaps with memories reclaimed from ashes, gently coaxing the names from darkness into the light of humanity. As the first blooms of spring peeked timidly through frost-laden earth, Adelina knew the time had arrived for action. The names amassed, but they called for acknowledgement, a return to the land where hopes had been extinguished beneath a charred sky. The villagers deserve to be remembered, not just in our words, but in a place where they once breathed life, she declared one morning, conviction piercing through their collective silence. Thierry met her gaze, the shadows from his past still wrestling for dominance within him. "You mean to return?" "To the village," she affirmed, heart racing at the prospect. "To tend to their stories, to give them the reverence they deserve. We must honor those lost." The thought ignited something fierce. Within him, a spark of determination mixed with fear. "But will they understand the living?" "They will, if we carry their truth," she replied, emphasizing the gravitas behind her words. "It's time to speak their names, time to honor the sacrifices." Without hesitation, the resolve strengthened in his core. "Then I shall accompany you. I want to face what remains." Spring dawned with vibrant hues, exhaling life into the once barren village. The journey to the land of ashes transformed as they rode side by side, the world around them thriving with vigor. As they approached the remnants of the burnt village, the memories rushed back to Adelina Dread, and sorrow mingling with resolve. "Here," she whispered, voice tremulous with grief, looking upon the land blanketed by the scars of their betrayal. "This is where we remember." They dismounted, the earth beneath their feet still tethered to the stories buried within. Adelina reached down to gather the charred remnants, the soil cold yet awakening. Thierry knelt beside her, his fingers digging into the earth, a link forged between past and present. "For every name, a life," he murmured, filling the air with something deeper than apology. Together, they planted marker stones inscribed with the names of the lost, cultivating a garden of remembrance. Each stone stood resolute, reclaiming the land once suffocated by the flames of regret. Adelina felt the warmth of purpose envelop her, wrapping her in fibers of hope. "We'll gather stories from those around us," she said resolutely. "Those who still roam this world, let us honor their memories." As dusk descended, they organized a gatheringa celebration of remembrance beneath the sprawling oak that had watched centuries unfold. Word spread like wildfire throughout the region. The villagers arrived, weary yet yearning, burdened with memories of loss. They came armed with their own stories, ready to piece together the fractured past. They encircled the stones, recognizing names once lost to fire, voices rising in a chorus of whispered hope. "We remember," Adelina said gently, the gathering hushed to stillness. "For each name lives within us." A collective breath hung in the air. Each villager stepped forward, sharing their own memories, breathing life into the forgotten. "It was small, but vibrant," one woman recalled, eyes shimmering with recollection. "A child laughed, danced beneath the sun, as did all of us," an old man added, voice cracking but strong. "We sang songs of joy." Those voices echo still. As the tales circled like the branches overhead, light began to fill the void, weaving through darkness. Stories melded together, shared sorrows, blooming into understanding, a tapestry rich with complexity, and rage transformed into clarity. Through that sacred night, beneath the stars, the villagers reclaimed their spaces, hearts entwined with truths birthed. Adelina offered her heart freely, intertwining threads of forgiveness through shared testimony. It wasn't simple. Time and space shifted like clouds. Shadows emerged, yet retreated, finding solace in the luminescent glow of compassion. As the night deepened, she felt Thierry's presence beside her, a silent acknowledgement that no longer ached with burden. "I am haunted, but it is no longer unbearable," he confessed, finally free to embrace struggles released in the act of remembrance. "Yes," she whispered back, a smile emerging from the depths of her heart, like the dawn rising once again. As candlelight flickered into the dusk, the weight of the past transformed into strength for the journeys ahead. Together, they stood poised against the horizon, breathing life into each story anew. The village began to hum with life again, an ember glowing, waiting to burst into flame, and each name breathed love into a spirit once lost. That promise crafted a bond, a promise that would grow strong underneath the surface as the future unfolded. And through it all, one truth remained steadfast. Their stories would never again fall silent. With each shared glance and moment of vulnerability, a fire ignited that could not be extinguished. If this journey ignited something within you, join us as we continue to share tales that breathe life into lost histories. Subscribe to Medieval Stories for more